There's a CIG-sized twist to Star Citizen's latest in-game event that sees players attempting to track down and locate some lucky golden tickets. The event itself began this week, and players were set the task of locating this so-called rare loot. The golden tickets can be found in a variety of locations, both in space and on the ground. Hilariously, this is where things start to get really interesting. The reward for finding one of these tickets is the opportunity to spend real-world money on an exclusive spaceship, and we aren't talking a small amount of money here either. Find the golden ticket in Star Citizen and you can buy the F-8C Lightning for $260. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and cast judgment on people who buy ships in Star Citizen. People are free to do whatever they want with their money, and if someone wants to buy spaceships, if they enjoy doing so, then more power to them, go for it. The issue here, then, as far as I can see, it isn't that people spend money on spaceships, but it's rather about the marketing practice itself, and that this is an issue with CIG and not the players. So this might be subjective, but in my opinion, the idea of winning the ability to buy something is just pure madness to start with. If EA did something like this, the internet would go into meltdown. Imagine if Blizzard said that in the next Call of Duty, players can find a golden ticket that will allow them to buy a unique gun that is more powerful than anything else in the equivalent class. People would go into meltdown, and rightly so. Now, CIG and Star Citizen, however, seem to perpetually exist in their own unique environment, where these things are not only attempted, but also encouraged. And yes, unfortunately, the F-8C Lightning, by definition, does make Star Citizen pay to win, as right now, there's no other way to get the ship without spending real money. And it is a very powerful ship that people for a long while now have felt would ultimately unbalance the game if it was ever put into it. And yeah, it's coming, and a lot of people are going to have access to it, and it is likely going to have an impact, at least based on what the conversations we've seen before actually entail. But wait, there's more. All of this takes us into another aspect of this story. The F-8C Lightning was originally conceived of many years ago. Initially, there was only two ways to get this ship. Firstly, by completing a specific mission in Squadron 42. Completing this mission would unlock the F-8C in Star Citizen's persistent universe. The problem with this, of course, is that Squadron 42 isn't yet released and might not be for a long time, although there might just be some news on that at this year's CitizenCon. Now, the other way to get the F-8C Lightning was to spend a huge amount of money in total on ships, some at $10,000. Now, if you were to do this, then the F-8C would be a bonus reward. And here's Chris Roberts explaining that himself.
So the idea is, essentially, Squadron has to come out, and then it will be available, and then you can either earn it by playing Squadron all the way through, or as a thank you to some of the people that have really helped us.
CIG long ago made the promise that the F-8C would never go up for sale, and that it would remain a unique reward for either completing Star Citizen's mission, or Squadron 42's mission rather, or for spending this huge amount of money. A few years later, CIG discussed the possibility of selling the F-8C, but the community was understandably strongly opposed to the idea. Now jump forwards to 2023, and CIG appear to have thought that the way around this problem of not being able to directly sell the ship is to give players the option to win the ability to buy the ship. It kind of feels though that this really shouldn't make CIG much money. After all, just how many players would follow through and make such a big purchase? Yet looking at the funding tracker, we can see that the daily funding has jumped from around $90,000 per day to $1.7 million. Clearly, a lot of people are very happy about the opportunity to spend $260 on a ship. Ultimately then, what this tells us is that it simply doesn't matter what someone's feelings are on these type of marketing practices. Whether you think it's a good or bad idea is completely irrelevant to CIG, or at least it seems that way. From a purely financial point of view, CIG's daily funding increased by around 1,800%, and they're very likely to be thinking that they are doing things very right, regardless of the perception of breaking long-held promises or using scummy marketing practices. Now, all that said, CIG have made an attempt here to make what some people might otherwise find a bitter pill to swallow, well, a little bit easier to swallow. Yes, I know that sounds very cynical. I know I'm sounding very cynical about this, but it's hard not to see it that way. In addition to the golden tickets, CIG are also holding a platinum ticket event. The platinum tickets allow players to win the F8C ship entirely for free. Now, obtaining a platinum ticket, however, is much more difficult. Only a limited number of the platinum tickets are available, and they are all held by CIG developers. These developers are from time to time jumping into the game carrying one of these tickets. Players then need to track down a developer, kill them, and loot the ticket. At this point, the player will be marked as carrying the ticket, and they have to avoid being destroyed themselves whilst they return to safety to cash the ticket in. All in all, that actually sounds like a pretty fun event, doesn't it? Although certainly a little bit more on the difficult side. Now, the second sweetener that CIG are offering here is the ability to rent the F8C for a 24-hour period. To do this, players need to locate a golden ticket, which they can then use to obtain the ship for 24 hours by using in-game credits. Two sweeteners then to make the overall event seem a little better. Or maybe I'm just being very cynical about the whole deal. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section. Is it really a wonderful event that CIG are offering here? Do you feel this is a great idea to win the ability to make real-world purchases? Or do you think that perhaps this isn't such a great concept after all, or not a good idea at all? Do let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.